comic books are selling right now. But do you know which ones? Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and thank you for joining me for another video here on the channel. Today, of course, we're going to be looking at some Instagram sales, and I've taken a ton of books that I've recently sold on Instagram over the past couple of weeks. Now, I didn't get every sale out there, of course, but there are a ton of books in this video you're going to want to check out. But before we get started in the video, like always, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, do yourself a favor, hit that sub button for me. Do me a favor and smash that like button because it helps the algorithm out, and check out all the new merch I have for sale down below if you're so inclined. Now, with that said, let's check out these books. Alright, so the first thing I want to mention to you guys, I do not have the sale prices of any of these books, so keep that in your head. I am going to give you the list prices, though, and we can compare it to the last sales according to GPA. Now, most of the last sales in GPA were really within the past 3 months, so they should be valid. So, with that said, we're going to start off with House of Secrets number 92 in a 6.0 off-white to white pages. This book was offered by Grails, and they had it listed for $1,600 shipped. Now, as you look into the GPA data, you can see the last sale was at $1,475. The other thing I do not know about these Instagram sellers, if they do report to GPA, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they don't, but hey, if I'm wrong, Elite Comics 11, Grails, Diamond Comic Club, let me know right now if you guys report to GPA. Either way, right around what this book has been selling for over the past 3 months. Up next, offered by Elite Comics 11, we had a copy of the X-Men number 1 in a CGC 2.5 signature series signed by the great Stan Lee in an off-white to white pager. They had this listed for right around market value of $7,599. And sure enough, when I went over to GPA, that was exactly the last sale. Which makes you think, hey, maybe Elite Comics does report to GPA. Maybe they listed it right at that number because they knew what it was worth. Regardless, I think somebody got a great deal on this book. I happen to love Silver Age Mega Keys with that Stan Signature Series label. You guys let me know down in the comments if you like them too, and also if you think this person got a great deal. We're going to stick with Elite Comics 11 and talk about this book. It is a copy of Fantastic Four number 1 and the first appearance of Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. Now, this issue was offered up at a CGC 2.0 off-white to white pages, and the listed price was $9,999. And when I went to check the GPA data, guess what? The last sale of this book was for $11,000. So it tells me this book is still coming down a little bit. Could be because maybe the condition of this book or the presentation wasn't up to snuff with the last 2.0 that sold. Regardless, I'm believing right now that this book is still coming down in price. So I don't think all Silver Age keys have bottomed as of yet, but I think a lot of them have, and we're going to go and check some of these other books here in this video today. Let's go back to the Bronze Age and stick with Elite Comics 11, and they have a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 194 Direct Edition in a CGC 9.8 white pager. Now, they offer a 100 money back guarantee, and they had this book listed for $2,599. So, surprise, surprise, when I went to GPA, guess what? That last sale was right around that price at $2,493. Again, this is one of my favorite Bronze Age keys. You guys know I'm partial to Spider-Man books, but I love the Black Cat as well. Did somebody get a good deal on this book? It's around what I've been seeing for this book selling, but another nice Bronze Age key for sale that sold on Elite Comics 11. How about this one? Another Elite Comics 11 at con sale. We have a copy of Journey into Mystery number 85 and the first appearance of Loki. Of course, the Loki season 2 just ended. Again, no spoilers down in the comments because I'm just about to start this thing. Either way, this copy at a CGC 2.5 off-white to white pager was offered at $1,199. And of course, when I go back to check the GPA data, it's right around there. The last sale of $1,188. So again, maybe this is what this person paid. Maybe they don't report the GPA. I'm still unsure of that. Regardless, this book is a massive book that nobody talks about. Again, we had a nice bump in 2020, 2021, but now it seems to settling back in around this price range. If you're a big Loki fan, I think it's a must-own book. But again, what have we seen so far? 2 Bronze Age, 3 Silver Age. I think this is telling us that some of these books ought to be bought right now. But we're going to see with the rest of these books in this video. All right, AtCon was a big event. We all know that. Some of the bigger books on this site were sold during AtCon. So here we have Incredible Hulk #1 in a CGC 3.0 off-white to white pager again. They had listed for $15,450. This book is a nice clean copy, no Marvel chipping to boot. So I'm assuming whoever bought this book paid around right what it was worth. And we go check the last GPA sale, and it was actually above this listed price of $15,999. You guys know if we're going to buy Silver Age keys, I love AF-15, and right behind it is Incredible Hulk #1. And I think right now, if you go back and check some of the GPA data and any grades, you can see a lot of those grades, they really haven't come down. If anything, they've gone up. I've been saying this over the past 6 months to a year. So this is one of these books from the Silver Age and a lot of the grade point averages that have really not taken a beating like some of the others have. Regardless, I think somebody got a great deal on this book, but let me know down in the comments. So far, we're 4-2, 4 huge Silver Age keys, 2 Bronze Age keys. I think we're starting to see that some of these bigger books are what people are buying. All right, so we're going to go from one big Marvel Silver Age key to a smaller Silver Marvel Age key. And here we have a copy of Fantastic Four #52 in the first appearance of the Black Panther, T'Challa, and it is offered at a CGC 5.0 in off-white to white pages. It seems every book so far on this list has been an off-white to white pager. Regardless, we have this nice Black Panther label that you don't really see too often out there on this book. Either way, Elite Comics 11 offering this book for $599 with free shipping, of course, and the last sale, according to the GPA of this one, was $508 just this past month. So $100 over ask on this book, probably because of that special Marvel label. Either way, I think it's a decent deal. A book that has really come down over the past couple of years, and we all know that in the MCU, T'Challa is going to be reborn basically as the son of the main T'Challa. I think that's a pretty good idea. Probably going to be a while before we start to see that character come to fruition in the MCU, or who, at this point, who even knows if they're actually going to do it with everything going on at Marvel. But again, a nice solid Silver Age key that's not really expensive in my opinion. Good job here by the person who picked this up. I think now is the time for the ones that have gotten crushed in the Silver Age, as you're seeing, people are starting to pick up, especially with the nice custom Marvel labels. All right, now it's time to talk some DC, and here we have a copy of Detective Comics #400 and the origin and first appearance of the Man-Bat. And again, AtCon was a great time to go ahead and buy some of these keys that have beaten down, and I'll be honest, DC keys were on fire for a little bit, but have since really cooled off, and I haven't seen so many go for sale as of late. Regardless, they offer this book in a CGC 6.5, off-white to white pages again, something going on with this book, and all these books are having off-white to white pages, but regardless, it was offered at $325. And according to last sale in GPA, the last sale was this month for $355. So really right around what this book is going for. And even then, probably sold for around $300 would be my guess. At least that's what I would offer. That's right around what it's worth. But take note, DC keys are not really selling like crazy like they were earlier in the year. But either way, a nice Silver Age key somebody picked up for a decent price. Lo and behold, our lone Copper Age book so far on this list, and guess what? It is a copy of New Mutants 98 and the first appearance of Deadpool. And this book offered again by Elite Comics 11. If you haven't noticed, Elite Comics 11 prices their books rather fairly, pretty close to last sale on GPA. This issue, a 9.8 white pager. You guys know the only copy of this book that I want to own. However, this one is a newsstand copy, and they offered it up for $2,599. As we get into the GPA data, the last sale was actually under that, at only $2,225. So this book priced about $300 over. Again, a hot book for the newsstand collectors. This book has been on and off the Hot 10 Breakdown of the Week for quite a while. You guys know I'm not a newsstand buyer, but hey, if you want to own this book in a 9.8 white pager, to me, I always said it's got to be under $1,500. That's where I feel most comfortable. But now, even with books still dropping, especially a lot of copies out there of this one, I probably want to stay around $1,400 for the direct edition, but newsstands, all bets are off. Somebody paid up to own this book. Drop me comments down below. Are you a newsstand collector or not? So back to the Silver Age, and this is one of the books and one of the sales for this video that didn't quite make sense to me, and the only one really, but here we have a copy of Amazing Spider-Man #1 in a CGC 0.5. Again, off-white to white pages. I don't understand this, guys. Grails is offering it up for $5,000. Now, why is this book a 0.5? You can see the book looks pretty good for a 0.5. It's because on the back of this book, the back cover is actually missing a third of the back cover. Now, this is something where I don't agree with CGC. If a majority of the cover is there and the presentation of the book looks better than a 0.5, I believe it should be a 1.0. Again, if it's half to maybe maybe 2/3 that's missing, then definitely yes, a 0.5. For information out there, I have an Amazing Spider-Man 1 that is a 0.5 that actually is missing totally the back cover, so mine looks a hell of a lot better than this book. But either way, I think this book should be graded at a 1.0, and maybe that factors into the price here. Either way, Grails was asking $5,000. And as we get into the GPA data of this book, believe it or not, guys, the last sale for a 0.5 Amazing Spider-Man 1 was $2,640, so quite the discrepancy. Now, I'm not sure if, like I said, because only a third of that back cover is missing, maybe they felt the need to jack up the price because the presentation was better. That's where it gets a little iffy with GPA pricing and grades, because you have no idea what the book actually looks like. Regardless, if you can go out and get a higher grade for roughly the same price, that's probably what I'd be doing, not buying a 0.5 for almost $5,000. But like I said, that's the listed price, that's not the sale price, so I don't have access to that data. And I will say this, anybody out there who owns or manages one of these websites, I know Ali a little bit from Elite Comics 11, Grails, Diamond Comic Club, whoever it is, if you sell books and you see that one of your books has been featured on one of my videos and you want to say, hey, this is what this book sold for, you don't have to give me names. I'd be happy to go over recent sales from your site and let people know if people got a good deal, so on and so forth. You can always contact me in the description of every video. Staying with Spider-Man, we're going to talk about one of my favorite books. You guys know that. It is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 50, offered again by Elite Comics 11 in a CGC 8.0, and guess what? Off-white to white pages. They offered it at $2,175, and the first thing I thought of was, man, this book has really come down. It is sad considering it's one of my favorite covers of all time. Either way, the last sale according to GPA was $2,077, so I assume that this sold right around that number. Again, a great book if you want to keep long-term in your collection. Unfortunately, I do think it'll go up over time, but not that much considering it has really gotten crushed. I myself own an 8.0 signed by Stan Lee and John Romita, and I paid a hell of a lot more money than it's going for right now, but it's totally fine. I do think at least right now, this book still should be bought in my opinion. Up next, let's talk about the King of the Silver Age. You guys know what it is, and I'm seeing a lot of copies all of a sudden show up on Instagram right now, but guess what? They're also being sold very quickly. This copy in a CGC 2.5, Amazing Fantasy 15, you know what it is. It's the first appearance of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Aunt May, Uncle Ben. This one has a little bit of marble chipping here on the right side. Offered again by Elite Comics 11. They do a great job of pricing their books accordingly. They offered it at $22,250, and when I went to check out the last sale according to GPA, it was $24,255. So this one marked at a significant discount. I wonder if it's because of that Marvel chipping. That's what it really comes into play with, especially Amazing Fantasy 15, is that chipping, is the presentation of the book. This one is a cream to off-white pager. So again, not sticking with that off-white to white the whole video. Again, I'm seeing a lot of AF-15s come to market right now, at least only on Instagram. But like I said before, they're getting snatched up pretty quickly. A lot of people are jumping on this key right now, at least in my opinion. But I want to hear your thoughts out there in the community. Is that what you're seeing as well? Are there other copies out there on other sites that you see coming to market? I want to hear what you guys think. So we're actually going to stay with Amazing Fantasy 15 here, and when I saw this copy listed for sale, yours truly almost jumped at it because it is a copy of Amazing Fantasy number 15. This one's also a cream to off-white pager and a 0.5 old CGC label offered by, again, Elite Comics 11. The ask was $13,950. Well, you're going to ask why, of course, is this book a 0.5? Again, it's because a third of the back cover is missing. Again, a book that I don't actually agree with CGC and how they grade this thing. This presents like it's a 2.0, 2.5. There is some striations on the front of this book. Regardless, I think the asking price was actually pretty decent as well, because we get into the GPA data, you could see the last sale for a 0.5 was all the way up at $16,000. I think whoever purchased this book, you guys actually got a really good deal no matter what you paid for it. Now, when I was going to make an offer for this book, it wasn't going to be at $14,000. I was probably going to come in around $11,000 to $12,000 to see if I could steal it, but someone actually beat me to the punch. And you know why? People are saving their money for these big girls, and that's because at lower grades, people feel more comfortable jumping in and buying them, especially when they present so nicely as this one does. So I think whoever purchased this book actually did a really great job in picking one up. I always say you don't have to go out and buy higher grades, especially in this book. Any grade that you get, if it's complete, has everything there, there's no resto, if you can afford it and go out and get it and it presents like this, I always think it's a great buy. And I do think whoever owns AF-15s in these lower grades, and as long as they're untethered and everything's there, I think you're doing yourself a great service buying these books, because this is the most popular character out there. I say it time and time again, it's an always going to be a desirable book. Sticking with Spidey here, we're going to get into a copy of Amazing Spider-Man #3 and the first appearance of Doc Ock, one of my favorite Spidey villains. Now this book again offered by Elite Comics 11 in a CGC 3.5 cream to off-white pages and signed by the great Stan Lee. It was offered at $2,999, but guess what? The kicker on a 3.5 signed by Stan Lee, the last sale, believe it or not, was way back in 2021 for $5,000. So again, 2 years ago, this book sold for almost twice the amount, come all the way down to just around under $3,000. I really would love to know what they pay for this book. It's a nice looking copy. I love Stan's signatures on Amazing Spider-Man keys. I think they present phenomenal. So if I saw this one, I might have jumped the gun and probably purchased this one. But again, I think over time, Spidey keys are holding their value for the most part, especially long term. But I'd love to hear what you think on this one. So again, here we have another Amazing Fantasy 15. This one offered up by Diamond Comic Club. If you guys aren't familiar with them, do yourself a favor, sub them up on Instagram. This one in a CGC 1.0, cream to off-white pages. Again, not a crazy expensive AF-15. They offered it at $17,499 for a 1.0. So here we talk about where presentation matters. This one compared to the other few AF-15s that I've seen in this video are, this one's a little bit more worse for wear, but it shows it in the price. Now, I don't know what this person paid for this book. I can tell you the last sales data for a 1.0 according to GPA was $12,700. So again, let's go back and talk about that 0.5 where we had a 0.5 sale of $16,000. Now we have a 1.0 for $12,700. It all matters on what the presentation of the book is. This book has some shipping along the top and the right side of the book. There's spine wear. Still could see Spidey. Still definitely a worthy purchase by anyone out there who wants to own an AF-15. But again, you could see where the price fluctuation happens in the presentation of this book. Guess what? A lot of Spider-Man keys are selling right now. And here we have a copy of Amazing Spider-Man #1, again offered by Diamond Comic Club. This one in a CGC 2.0, off-white to white pages. Again, the origin of Spider-Man retold. We all know what it is. They were offering this book for $7,499. But guess what? We're going to go check out the GPA data, and the last sale for this book was actually $7,200. So again, we want to compare this book in a 2.0 to the 0.5 that we saw from Grails that someone paid under $5,000 for that book. But you tell me, would you rather have this book in a 2.0 or a 0.5 for just under $5,000? I can't imagine they let that book go for around $2,500 where the last 0.5 sale was, considering that they had it listed for $5,000. This is where I wish we knew what the book sold for. Regardless, guys, I'd rather own the 2.0. It's a better grade. It's complete. But again, if you can't go out and get a 2.0 and you want to get a 0.5, that's fine. I just want to pay what's around the last sale for it. Regardless, I think $7,200 for an Amazing Spider-Man #1 is a decent deal in a 2.0, considering this one presents pretty well. So let's talk some Golden Age. Here we have a copy of Batman #11, of course, this iconic Joker cover in a CGC 2.5, white pages, and I believe the cover is detached. I can't quite make the notes on the label. Either way, Grails is offering this book at $6,000 shipped. Now, one thing I've noticed is earlier in the year, Golden Age books were flying off people's pages. Now, it's kind of died down a little bit. As we get into the GPA data, you could see that the last sale for this book was around $5,520. So they're asking a little bit above that. Possibly could be because, there's less Golden Age books out there. Possibly because it's a white pager to boot, so maybe they feel that they can go out and get a little bit more because of that white page quality. Or it could be because that's how they're selling the book and they just want to meet in the middle at that last sale. There are different tactics for every seller and every sale. So with that said, drop me comments down below. Do you think this is a good price? I don't think the person paid $6,000. They probably paid under that. But either way, a beautiful copy of this book, something that I may be searching for in the near future. We'll see. But guess what? Right behind it is another copy of Batman #11. This one that sold on Elite Comics 11 during AtCon. Again, a 2.5. This one is an off-white pager, so that's not that white page quality that Grails had. Either way, they were offering this book for $5,899. You guys know what the last sale was already, for $5,520. But when comparing these two books, which one has better presentation? Are you a white page snob? Probably a lot of people out there are going to be, but I think they probably sold for right around the same price, within a few $100s or less. So it really depends on the book that you want to own. Either way, that's right around what the book is worth, considering there are not many copies of this book out there. Let's jump back to the Bronze Age and talk about Marvel Spotlight number 5. You guys know what it is. It's the first appearance of the Ghost Rider. Here offered by Grails in a CGC 7.0 cream to off-white pages. They were offering it for $1,550. When we get into the GPA data, you can see the last sale was only $1,529, so really right at that last sale. What deters me from this book is that cream to off-white pages for a Bronze Age key. I think for silver and back, it's totally fine to have cream pages, but because of the volume of copies that are out there for Bronze Age books, I probably want a little bit better page quality. I'm not going to be a snob, but hey, if you're spending $1,500 on a book, you get one with off-white to white, you're probably better off for around the same price. Yet again, another Marvel Spotlight 5, this one by Elite Comics 11 in a CGC 7.5, again off-white to white pages. They're offering this book for $1,575. So compared to the Grail's price of $1,550 on the last sale being $1,525 for a 7.0, I'm thinking this one's a pretty good deal. Regardless, when we get in the GPA data, you can see the last sale for a 7.5 was $1,856. So I think whoever bought this copy did a lot better job of knowing what was going on, what the last sale was, and jumped at the chance to buy this book. Again, they definitely paid under $1,575, or at least at it, and got themselves a pretty good deal. You guys know that Marvel Spotlight 5 is one of my top 5 Bronze Age keys. I want to own them. The higher the grade, the better, and the better page quality, the better as well. Sticking in the Bronze Age and jumping back to Spidey is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 129 and the first appearance of the Punisher, this awesome cover by Gil Kane and John Romita Sr. This one offered by, again, Elite Comics 11 in a 9.4 off-white to white pages and the old label to boot. So they're actually asking $3,950 with the last sale according to the GPA being $4,080. So really right around that last sale, perfectly fine. But I think whenever we see this old CGC label, people are jumping to buy these books, especially Bronze Age books, because they think they could clean and press them to get a higher grade. Regardless, I remember when an 8.0 was going for around $4,000. Now we have a 9.4 for around that price. Is this book bottomed yet? I have no idea. All I know is that it's an awesome cover and someone took a chance to go ahead and press this book and possibly get a bump. Worth the risk? Let me know down in the comments. How about we talk about a classic cover? Here we have a copy of The Silver Surfer number 4 in a CGC 3.5 off-white pages, again offered by Elite Comics 11 for $460. When I did my due diligence, I checked GPA. The last sale for a 3.5 was only $365, but as you can see, you probably could have got a better deal on this book. Maybe the person who did buy it did get a great deal. I have no idea. Regardless, though, if you want to own a classic cover, it really doesn't get better than this one. It could still be had for relatively cheap in mid to low grade. So I wanted to show you with these videos what is actually selling. And I did my due diligence. I went through these 3 sellers and actually picked out books that actually sold. I didn't know what they sold for, but these are the books so far that have been selling on Instagram. All right, I had to do it. I saw this book for sale on Elite Comics 11 that it sold, and I had at least talk about it. It is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 130, the first appearance of Dazzler. This one in a CGC 9.6 white pager with that ridiculous Magneto label, which I actually can't stand. This is one of the few labels from CGC that I do not like. Elite Comics 11 offered this book for $499. We know it's been super hot because Taylor Swift is supposedly going to take on the role, and all that I'm hearing right now from Ryan Reynolds is my guess is going to happen. Either way, if you check the GPA data, the last sale recently was $479, so really right at it. Kudos for the person who actually sold this book because they knew now was the time to sell it. Get as much money as you can right now and dump it off to somebody else. Great job. But if you spend $400 on a 9.6, I'm not going to kill you because it's still a 9.6 of a first appearance of a character in the X-Men. So I don't think it's a bad deal. I just think you probably could have got a cheaper book at a lower grade. I don't think it's an investment book. So again, I don't think it needs to be bought in super high grade. But again, to each his own. I hope you're happy with the purchase. All right, so that's it for this one. Whew, it was a long one, man. A freaking lot of books that sold recently over the past couple of weeks on these 3 Instagram pages. Again, a lot of great books are still selling. What I've noticed, and this is what I take away from this video, is that some of the bigger Silver Age keys they're starting to move. We're starting to see some AF-15s move, a lot more being sold, a lot more being listed, and they're being snatched up. So do I think it's a good time to buy AF-15? Yes. Do I think it's a good time to buy Incredible Hulk 1? Yes. A lot of these other Silver Age keys, I'm also a buyer of. A few I probably stay away from, like FF #1. We'll see how that movie turns out, and then if it's a great movie and people start buying into these characters, if you're not a comic enthusiast, then you might want to stay away from that one. Other than that, you see some of the silver that's selling, you see some of the bronze that's selling, a lot of Spider-Man keys, Punisher, Black Cat. Here's this House of Secrets, which is a nice key. I always said I love that book. So silver, bronze, and some of the gold has really started to slow down. So take this video for what it's worth. If you're in the market for any of these keys, do your due diligence. Like always, this is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.